Yo, I'm Church, and welcome to Student of the Game. It's an interview series where we basically have conversations with cool people, try to learn some things. Um, I'm joined by one of the leading names in New Zealand music, uh, award-winning, internationally recognized. 2019, he took home the Pacific Music Award for Most Promising Artist, and he's just coming fresh off of a nationwide tour. This is Melodownz.
I also, yeah.
Um, So I'm really interested to have a conversation with you, specifically around identity, because I think that that's something that you have a very like distinct version of. That's very authentic to yourself, and I think that also it's just your ability to be open to growth and evolution as an artist is something that I think a lot of people could learn from.
Yeah.
So my first question is how do you maintain integrity in your art, in your brand, uh, in this world that's constantly ruled by instant gratification?
Oh, that's a good question, man. I think I always go back to how it all started for me, like at my grandparents' house and like making music off like a cheap ass computer using, headphones from the net cafe and that, like, and I just think about where I was at back then, and that always takes me like every time I'm in that situation, like, it always takes me back to the grassroots. And
Mm,
for me, grassroots is important because that's my foundation. And like, I feel like we can't really get far if we don't have that strong foundation or know where we've come from. So for me to, um, like, sometimes I get sucked into like wanting to do things just because it's trending or like, oh, that sounds cool, or like, I want to jump on that. But I think it's hiding that influence and making it my own as well.
sure.
And I think that it's important, like for me personally, like I don't know about you, but like if I listen to something for way too long, I can't, because I start sounding like too similar, or like
Mm.
I like to, that's why, yeah, I can't listen to like too much of one artist. I like to kind of switch it up every now and then.
Have you always been into like various genres of music?
Yeah, man, like I didn't discover hip hop late. Sorry, I discovered hip hop late. Like I think I was like intermediate when I got into hip hop. Like one of my cousin's uncles was a promoter, and so he used to bring like Coolio. He brought like Bone Thugs over, and then as soon as I discovered Bone Thugs, I was like, shit, where have I been, or like where have they been all this time? Like, and then straight away I was like, I resonated with that way more than like the music I was listening to at the time. So yeah, that's kind of the music I grew up on.
I have a quote that I heard you say in an interview, and you said, as long as you're comfortable with who you are, it doesn't matter what you wear.
Yeah,
Um,
facts.
and I think that that's a really good point. And I just wanted to ask, like, as an artist, obviously your fashion sense and your style is distinctive.
Mm.
Um, is that something that you've always paid attention to?
Yeah, like I've always been a bit buzzy, like even growing up like in my hood, like the boys were always on their own shit, and I don't know, like I was always, I don't want to say different, but like even like my all the usos, like all their parents would like think I'm a bit different. I don't know if it's because I was like half caste or I didn't quite fit in, but I fit in kind of thing. But I just been rolling with it because I'm like, oh yeah, sweet. As long as I'm accepted, I guess. Not even that, like I didn't care. But yeah, it just kind of stemmed from that, and then I just got into like wearing. I used to wear my mom's like blazers and stuff,
Right.
like they were baggy and that, and like I thought that were cool, but then the boys were like, bro, that looks rude. So I was like, bro, if it looks cool, just wear it. It doesn't matter what it is. So yeah.
And I feel like in your career, it's paid dividends because now everybody associates your
Mm.
look with your music or your artistry, like obviously with the locks
Yeah, yeah,
and even like the bucket hats and the kind of swag that you've developed
yeah,
from
yeah, yeah.
yourself. It's nice to hear that it's coming from a genuine place. Like,
For sure. And like just off that, like my mom or like always had different hats as well. So I'd always wear my mom's like beanies or bucket hats, or she used to have all these berets. I used to start wearing berets to school and that, and so like at first kids were like, bro, that what even is that thing? Because it had a little like alfalfa thing on the top of the beret and stuff. And then I was just like, no, this looks cool. And so I just always was experimenting with hats and that. And I've always just worn hats, even like new eras and like snapbacks back in the days, trucker hats and that. And then, yeah, it's just a thing that I don't know, it's just normal to me, I guess. Yeah.
Right. One thing that I remember is you had Melodownz socks
Oh,
at
yeah.
one point.
These are old ass ones, but
Make sure
yeah.
the camera can see that.
Get a little
Um,
zoomer right here? No.
and I I've always thought that it's real intriguing that you've been able to kind of seamlessly blend your own interests into the branding, and then as a, I guess like as a consequence,
Mm.
you have this merchandise that is also like this part of you. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
whether it's socks or it may be hot sauce,
Mm.
um, can you just expand on your process of kind of bringing these zany ideas into reality?
Yeah, like I think all of us can relate. Like, do you know when you have some like an idea in your head and you're like, man, this has to I want this to be in my hands in the next month or I'll feel funny about it. Like that's always been my thing and I like to prove people wrong. And like with the hustles thing, I told some of the boys about it and they were just like, oh yeah, cool. They were like jamming game. I don't know what they were doing, but I told them and I was like really excited to tell them. And then the response I got was kind of like, oh yeah, cool. Like they didn't really care or they didn't understand or they were like, oh yeah, whatever. And then when I did it, they're like, what the hell, bro? You actually did it? I was like, fuck, I told you I was gonna do it.
Right, right.
But yeah, it's just like going back to the clothes stuff, like I've always been into like novelty socks, like at farmers there's like socks with fruits on them or like animals. I've always been into those kind of socks, and so I started collecting socks, and then one day I was just like, man, I should just try and make my own, and then I found like a contact, and there was like a manufacturer in New Zealand, and I had this design that this lady just sent me from Instagram, and I was like, oh cool, I'll just try this, and then that's why it's just got my face on the sock. But then I wasn't too sure because I was like, man, I don't really want people being like, man, this guy's put his face on socks and everyone's gonna have his face on everyone's ankles kind of thing. Like I felt a bit funny about it and I was just like, nah, just do it. So I started selling. I think the first one I did, I made like 80 socks. I think that's all I could afford at the time. And then I just posted on my Instagram and instantly got like heaps of replies like, yo, where can I cop? And so I was like, oh, yo, I'll drop it off to you. So I was just like dropping off socks to everyone that wanted them. Then they sold out in like a week. And then I was like, wow, this is crazy. I actually made a profit off,
Mm,
something that was just an idea. And so that's my thing. Is just like, bro, if there's something that you guys want to do, doesn't matter what it is, just do it. Because I think we can have that battle, that internal battle, like, oh, I don't know, oh, what are they gonna think? Or it's just like, man, fuck it, just do it and see what
mm,
happens. And if you fail, that's my thing. It's like if you fail, at least you can say you tried and you put your best foot forward. So that's kind of my mantra, yeah.
right. Have there been um, any examples that you could give us of business decisions or things that you may have done that failed in the time, but
Mm.
since you've been able to kind of get some game from it?
I've had a couple songs that I was real confident about, like, yeah, this song's gonna do mean, and then drop it, and it doesn't do that well. Or not like not well, but it doesn't exceed your expectations, and I got really disheartened about it. Like I remember being like, oh, damn. And then but then it's like I kind of learned from that, like I don't set any expectations
Hmm.
anymore. And I think my whole intention behind making the music has changed now too. Like I always wanted back then I was like, yeah, this is gonna be the song, and even like other people hyping me up about this song, and then I drop and it doesn't do as well as I thought it would do. It kind of like bruised the ego a little bit. Um, but yeah, that's I've kind of learned from that. And then I released another song from that same project, and then that's the one that goes, kind of thing. So
Right,
yeah, that was kind of I wouldn't say it's a mistake. It was just kind of not having. I think for me, not having expectation for the future. Yeah.
right. On that point, you pretty recently released um, Lone Wolf,
Yo.
which is like your first album released through a major label.
Mm,
Um, and I'm really interested to know what that whole working experience was like signing with a major and going that route, because I'm sure
mm.
that's a question that a lot of independent artists ask themselves, like, is the grass greener on the other
Yeah,
side?
yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, what was your experience like?
The business side of thing was cool. Um, yeah, just learning how like the a record deal works, like what a full record deal is, and like what you can get out of it and what you can't get out of it.
Sure,
So for me, I didn't want to like, I don't know, 10 years from now, I wouldn't want to look back and be like, if I just had been independent and been like, oh, what if, like, oh, maybe I should have signed, or like, I didn't want to have those what ifs. I would rather just take that risk and then just do like a small deal and then see how it goes. And if it didn't work out, then at least I've got all this knowledge now. Like, my name holds a lot more stock than it did beforehand, and I've got all these new relationships that I got from the label, um, like with other artists, like Denzel, like some guys from Dreamville, some A&Rs that holler at me on my phone, like things like that were really, really, what is it, like beneficial for me now that I'm like back to being indie and stuff like that. So it's cool to have that now. It's like, man, cool. I've got all these tools that I got from a major, but now I've got full ownership again. So it's like I'm feeling blessed because I know that there are other artists out there that, when you're young and vulnerable, and the label comes knocking, they telling their boys like, "Yo, gee, I got a major on my back, like I'm a sign, blah blah." And then all of a sudden it's like, "Yo, how long did you sign for?" It's like, "Oh, yo, 5, 6 albums." It's like, bro, catch your career up, G. You know what I mean? So, um, yeah. So I'm grateful to be in a position where it's like it wasn't like boom, 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 like stuck, kind of feeling stuck. So yeah, it's cool.
how do you know how to negotiate? Like, how did you learn that that was something that even needed to happen? Because,
Mm,
for a lot of people, as soon as a cash advance is spoken about, like that's like I've never seen any sort of money like that,
yeah,
especially
yeah,
put into art. Like
yeah,
that's pretty enticing.
yeah.
How do you know like where to draw certain lines and boundaries and things like that?
Oh, that's the thing. I didn't know. I didn't
Mm,
know. Like I still to this day I'm still learning. But yeah, I didn't know. I guess like I had a good lawyer, and Dan was like, he's very experienced. Dan's my manager. He's very experienced with contracts and stuff like that. So like even before I even had the team, or even before I had management, I thought I knew my worth. Like I was like getting booked for shows, and I was like, they're like, "Yo, Mello, how much for this?" Oh, then I got a booking agent, and yeah, they like booked me for this amount of money or whatever, this much. This was my fee. And so when I got this team, um, I was like, yo, they were like, "Yo, how much are you getting booked for festivals at the moment?" I was like, "Yo, this much." And they're like, "What?" I was like, "What, is that too much?" And they're like, "Nah, that's jack shit." Like, and I was
mm,
like,
mm,
"Wait, what?" And so like they showed me how much I was worth, kind of thing, like in
right,
terms of like they had to do a lot of damage control, like um like for example, they'll be like, "Oh, yo, we want Melly we want to book. I'll get an offer." Then they'll be like, "Oh, sorry, Melly's this much," and then they'll be like, "What? We booked him like last year for like
right,
not even
right,
half
right.
that." And so there was a lot of like proving festivals how much I'm worth because of how much I thought I was worth. And then
Mm,
I guess that's like a lot of learning. Like, oh, yo, so like if you think you're worth like 30 grand, then try at 30 grand and work your way down instead of being like, "Hey, Mello, do you want to play Rhythm and Vines for 3 grand?" "Oh, yeah, sure." Without even no negotiation, because I'm like,
mm,
oh, yo, to
mm,
me, that's money. I never see money in my life. So it's like, oh, yeah, bro, that's heaps. Yo, keep. But then, yeah, I think, and then from there, it's like, okay, if I am going to be worth this much, then how am I going to um show people I'm worth this much?
right.
I'm a rapper. All I have is me and the DJ. What's the difference between me and the next rapper in New Zealand? And that's when I sat down with my team. I was like, how are we gonna create an experience? And that's when I got the band on, and like started looking at like what Montel was doing because Montel has as a visual DJ, like in terms of he's a crazy DJ live, but then he's got like these visuals that are time coded with the music. So it's like, okay, we need to get something like that. And so for the first summer, I just sacrificed all my fees. Like I like got the band on, got like a sound guy, like did it all proper, got visuals, and so like with that it's very expensive to like have that. And so I was taking hours on the fees because I was like, cool, if I put this experience on this year, the festivals will see that and be like, oh, we need to book them for double next year. So like it was kind of a long game for me in terms of like where I thought my stock was at. And
Mm,
once I proved to these festivals like I deserve to be on the main stage, I deserve to be on the stage at like 9 p.m., 10 p.m., which is quite a good time. And then like it kind of just falls into place once you show them the experience and once you prove to them, oh yeah, cool, they can hold that band and mellow, whatever can hold that time really good. We need to get them for next year. But yeah, there will be that much next year. So
right.
I think it's just a lot of trial and errors with me as well, like still learning. Um but now I just feel so much not like I'm confident, but I've got so much experience learning from making those mistakes. Like
Yeah.
and yeah, so it's cool because now I can pass it to you guys and you guys don't have to take this sacrifice. You guys can already know what to do kind of thing. So yeah.
I think there's always a fine line between uh, self-motivation and imposter syndrome.
Oh, facts.
Um, is that something that you can relate to?
Man, 100. Like I was talking to this naturopath lady that I go see every now and then, and she was like, I remember I went to see her and she was like, "You okay?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I'm all good." She's like, "No, you're not. What's going on?" And then she could tell I was really tense, and I just had so much on, like just so much, not pressure, oh yeah, pressure. I had the work pressure, like my daughter, like all these new pressures that I've put on myself. And she asked me like, I can't remember what the situation was, but she was like, "Can you control it?" And then I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Is this in your control right now, the situation?" I was like, "Nah, well, I can't do anything about it." She's like, "Then why are you worried about it?" And then
Mm,
it's like she really put it into perspective. It's like anything that's out of your control, don't carry it. Just like just brush it off because a lot of us forecast things that haven't even happened yet, kind of
mm,
thing. So if we're present in the moment right now, we're here sitting content, talking, chopping it up. That's perfect. But there might be something that's going on in your family life or something that you're not happy about in your career or whatever, and it's like eating your life. But right now we're good. So it's like why do we have to kind of why are we worrying about that? Just let that go because right now we're in the now, we're present right here, and that's all that matters.
yeah, really insightful and really deep, beautiful conversation was had. Yeah, I'd just like to thank Mellow, Melodownz for being in this space. Appreciate you. And thank you everybody for, yeah, bringing your energy and much appreciated. Well, that's us, student of the game. I'll think of a tagline eventually.